So over at Cobb Cottage, I taught there for 7 years, and after every work, sometimes we teach 2 workshops a year. I teach 2, 3 workshops a year, sometimes just 1. But so I taught maybe a dozen workshops over there or more, and some of the apprenticeship programs and stuff over there as well. But Yanto had us ask at the end of every workshop, what is natural building? He'd have us ask that question. So we'd go round Rosie. What is natural building to you? And then you would say, hi, I'm Donkey, and natural building to me is. And there would be, the usual set. Most often people would say something like natural building is building houses out of natural materials, right? It's sort of obvious. Sort of in the word natural building, right? But occasionally we get a more interesting answer than that. And it's that more interesting answer that I was always after, that sort of twist that interested me about natural building more than that straight pat answer. All of our ancestors practiced natural building of one kind or another, which meant all of our ancestors basically just used what they had. They didn't have cheap energy, so they couldn't go 1,000 miles away to pick up something. If they wanted to shelter themselves, they had to basically deal with what they had right in front of themselves. Now, what have I got? Well, I got these sticks here, and I got a little bit of mud, and I've got that buffalo that I just killed last night. Right? So I could put that together into something, and I could keep the snow off. And that's kind of how we rolled, right up until fairly recently. And so there wasn't a term natural building. It just didn't exist. It was just, I'm building. I'm just going to build something. And we built for ourselves. There weren't a lot of professional builders early on. Later on, this thing called civilization came along, and there was specialization, and one guy makes all the bread for the village, and one guy builds all the houses for the village, and so that's our legacy. That's what we've become. But I gotta ask, really, what's natural building? Because if I live in a city and the trash stream brings me steel and glass, I think building with steel and glass is natural building. But if I live in a forest and I got wood and mud, building with steel and glass coming from 1,000 miles off isn't necessarily natural building. For me. So there's this magazine that I was reading, Natural Homes magazine. You guys have probably seen it, or some of you probably have. It's glossy sheets of beautiful images of these nicely made natural homes. And I was reading that magazine one day, and there's really some beautiful stuff. There's some real model stuff in there. There's this article about a woman way up on a mountaintop in Colorado, and she wanted to build herself a natural home. So she went down to New Mexico, and she got herself some adobes. And when she went down to California on the opposite side, and she brought herself up some straw bales, some nice rice straw bales. All these materials came from 1,000 miles away in every direction. And the house she put together was, admittedly, absolutely beautiful. But by the time I was done reading the article, I threw it against the wall. Because it was being sold as, this is natural building. And it's absolutely not what I'm about.